As a person who lived between two cultures and two supposedly very separate histories, I am always energized and inspired, I find, whenever there's an overlap or whenever there's a kind of moment where two seemingly dissimilar things connect. I think that probably comes from my experience as an immigrant and always being in some way in the middle of two different worlds. I'm Al-Hadid. I was born in Syria. I moved to Ohio when I was about 5. I currently live and work in Brooklyn and upstate New York. My work is very gestural and very fluid. I build a lot with line and plane. I play with gravity a lot in a sense. It's kind of a core problem of sculpture. I start with an experiment with a material or reflection on a artwork from very often the Middle Ages, both Western and Islamic cultures. I start with something that kind of just catches my attention or might light up my brain, and usually it's a very small gesture, a very small mark, and pursue that curiosity for as long as I can, as long as it takes. The work really is discovered throughout the process. Reflecting back on my career, there are certainly things that keep resurfacing. And a lot of it is a matter of the process and the materials. So a lot of it has to do with how the work is formed or built up, how I work with a lot of layers and a lot of thin marks accumulated over time. I'm always looking back at the ways in which artists have dealt with certain constraints in the past, certain motifs or typologies or concepts that have been the frame within which they build or within which they express their individual vision. I return mostly to art history. I find that I understand the current world so much more by looking at the past. I like to understand how we got here and how these origin stories that we live with, how our metaphorical concepts that have been built up over centuries, where they come from, how we've kind of assimilated them tacitly in our thinking and in our behavior, and trying to kind of re-examine ways in which they can exist again today.